I worked with Rory in the Ministry of Justice for 16 months. I've seen what an impressive minister he is, both good at strategy, the big picture stuff, but also completely on top of the details. I think he's an excellent communicator. I think he's someone who can bring the country together. And I think he's somebody who is setting out the true choices and options that exist on Brexit. It's not motivated by wishful thinking. I think he's telling the truth and setting out the real choices, and I think he would make an excellent Prime Minister.
Well, I do agree with you. I've done a question time a couple of times with him and been very impressed with his knowledge, and I like the fact that he said, if he wasn't going to deliver on cutting prison violence, he would have resigned as prison minister. Of course, he's now moved on as International Development Secretary, so it didn't arise, but I've actually got no doubt that he would have done that. However, you say it's not about wishful thinking, and he's setting out what the real options are, but he's issued a whole list of questions to other Tory leadership candidates saying they have to be able to answer these questions. Will you take no deal off the table? Will you admit and you have to stop pretending that there's no alternative to the withdrawal agreement that the Prime Minister has negotiated with the EU, because you can't get anything else through Parliament. The reality is, all he's offering is a little bit more of the same. Theresa May has tried 3 times to get her European withdrawal agreement through. She can't get it through. Why would it be any different with Rory Stewart in charge?
Well, look, we do have a reset with a new Prime Minister. That is an opportunity, but the facts, the parliamentary arithmetic don't change. You're right to say that. But the fact is that between now and October, there won't be an opportunity to fundamentally renegotiate the withdrawal agreement, certainly. And Rory is right to point that out. There is also clearly a parliamentary majority against leaving the European Union without a deal, and it's likely that that majority, one way or the other, will assert itself. So that makes it very difficult for those saying, well, we'll just threaten no deal and the other side will come crashing down. So Rory is facing the facts as to what the situation is, and the situation hasn't fundamentally changed. Now, my frustration, to be honest, is with a lot of Labour MPs who, after the parliamentary elections, are saying, no, we don't want a second referendum. We've got to get on with leaving the European Union, and yet they consistently voted against the only means of leaving against the European Union that's available, which was Theresa May's deal.
Well, that's not true, though. No, but that's not true, David Gauke. It's not the only means of leaving the European Union. We have the option of no deal as a means of...
Will vote that down.
Well, no, but you stood on a manifesto pledge in your own manifesto in 2017 when you stood as an MP that you believed that no deal was better than a bad deal. We've agreed now in Parliament that they think that the European withdrawal agreement is a bad deal, in which case no deal is the alternative. You talk about facing facts. Isn't it reality, though, that it's the party membership who are going to face facts, and they're going to look at someone like Rory Stewart and say, yeah, they think he's a good guy. They'd very much like him to be in the cabinet. They think he's a clever man and his thoughts should be there. But fundamentally, they've had their fingers burnt before with a Remainer saying they'd deliver a version of Brexit. They're not going to vote for a Remainer like him as party leader.
Well, first of all, just let's go back to the party manifesto in 2017. You're right, it said no deal is better than a bad deal. It also said that we should leave in a smooth and orderly way, and we should have a close and deep relationship with the European Union, and that's not what no deal would deliver.
Those aren't inconsistent.
Well, leaving without a deal certainly wouldn't be smooth and orderly, and it certainly wouldn't be a deep and special partnership with the European Union. So leaving without a deal, nor does leaving without a deal kind of put an end to this, because I understand the frustration that lots of people have of just saying, can we just get on with it and get it behind us? And if we left without a deal, then at least we've got it behind us. That isn't true, because the next question is then, what sort of relationship do you want with
But that's exactly the same that happens with the Euro. With the withdrawal agreement. It puts you in exactly the same position, but you're doing those negotiations with your hands tied behind your back.
But the point here is nobody, as far as I'm aware, is arguing that no deal is a sustainable long-term position with the European Union. So you have to go back and negotiate. And I think you have to ask yourself, if we've left without a deal, whether we think our negotiating position is somehow going to be stronger with all of the disruption and all of the chaos that I'm afraid no deal is going to bring.
Would you say all the disruption and chaos?
Well,
hold on a minute. The former Brexit minister, Chris Heaton-Harris, and for no deal, and the current Brexit minister who's handling the no deal preparations, James Cleverly, both of them have said there's far more preparation for no deal than is publicly discussed, and they both felt very happy about the preparations, and it wouldn't be chaos and disruption.
Well, look, I think on the point of
Are they wrong?
preparations, well, on preparations, I think the government has done a lot in terms of preparing for no deal. I think that's absolutely right. But it's not entirely within the hands of the government because we've got, very large private sector. Thankfully, that's the type of economy that we have got. But whether the private sector is fully prepared, I think one has to really question that. And then you've also got to look at the other side, the European Union member states, whether they're prepared. And then there are some things which you simply can't prepare for. The fact that if we left with no deal, immediately you are faced with very substantial tariffs on manufactured goods, on agricultural products. It's not a question that you can prepare for and those problems go away. They're fundamental. And there are whole sectors of this country that essentially become uncompetitive overnight if we have left without a deal. And I think it's to Rory's credit that he's prepared to make that argument and face up to those facts, even though, and Julia, you may well be right, that the party membership don't tend to support that they're very, very anxious to leave at the end of October and are perfectly happy to put up with no deal. But I think, a responsibility for politicians is to face up to the fact that this is not going to be easy. And if we were to leave without a deal, I think that we would be in a worse position if politicians hadn't been straight with people that this will be difficult, that this is not going to be straightforward, that livelihoods will be affected, that our public finances will deteriorate, so we will see an impact in terms of taxes or public spending. And shying away from that might be politically the easy thing to do, but it's to Rory's credit that he's prepared to set out the truth.
I think it's an absolute wonder you all agreed to hold a referendum when you thought the option was so catastrophic. Just finally, and briefly, if you would, sir, a lot of people are saying, look, Rory Stewart, with all due respect, him isn't going to win this contest. He's not going to go out to the final two, and even if he did, he wouldn't win it with the Tory party members. And that actually, your endorsement and indeed his standing is all actually a little bit of a stalking horse for Michael Gove. Is your support not really for him?
Well, I think Rory would be the best person, and I hope that he, at the end of this process, becomes Prime Minister. There are other good candidates. I think Matt Hancock is running a really good campaign and is a very impressive candidate. And it is true to say that I think Michael is an impressive candidate as well. But Rory is the person that I want to win. And I think when it comes to a vote like this, we should demonstrate who we want best, who we want most.
Do I take it, though, when you list the candidates you found impressive, you chose not to mention the front runner, Boris Johnson, that you don't find him impressive?
I'm going to focus on accentuate the positive, Julia, which is I think that impressive though Boris is, there are even more impressive candidates than him.